I'm Peggy Anne Salz at Mobile World Congress. I'm speaking for msearchgroove and bnetTV, and I'm with James Lamberti, who's VP Global Marketing at InMobi, which is a large, or the largest, independent global ad network, advertising company. And I think that global is where we'll start off, James,
Sure.
because that global is the insight that you have. So why don't we start off with what you're seeing around the world? It's a huge footprint.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, people don't even know necessarily who InMobi is, but we're in 37 countries, and we started in essentially Asia Pacific, and have grown the company where consumers are experiencing this technology as the only screen, right? I mean, so often the conversation is about developed countries where it's one of many screens. And I think what's interesting about the developing market is you almost see where mobile is going to be in 5 years or 3 years in other places. And what we're seeing is it's really the only screen. I mean, for the youth audience and for the future of advertising, it brings advertisers back to a place where they have some control, and they have the ability to truly reach globally from one buy, right? And I think it's an amazing opportunity. It brings scale and reach unprecedented in the history of media. We see 150 million consumers in a month globally around the world, and for an advertiser to know they can reach all of those in a matter of one media buy is a massive, unprecedented change for media. So I think that's kind of the one of the most important things happening for media and advertising in general. And I think the other point I would make about it is there's been a struggle for many advertisers, especially in developed nations, around the fragmentation and the disaggregation of media. And mobile gives them back a sense of control, and that's particularly true, again, in those developed and emerging markets, where you're going to see more growth from an ARPU and from a revenue perspective than you will in developed countries. So it's an exciting time, I think. This is the year where we go from experimental budgets last year from among advertisers to truly putting a light item, maybe not huge, maybe a few 100,000, maybe $1 million for the bigger brands, but it's the year where they know it's inevitable. They have to figure it out. So that's kind of a rambling dissertation on what we see globally.
Well, I'd like to deep dive for a moment. I mean,
Sure.
Global, I've seen some of your reports, and you give some insights to some specific regions. Are there regions that are really hot, or formats that are really hot? I mean, what is it out there that really works, and where?
Well, South Africa is really hot. With the World Cup coming up, I think there's an amazing focus on that market. We've seen a real climb in the revenues and in the interest in that market, not just because of the World Cup, but I think what's happening with the consumers in that market. Another market like that is Brazil. The other BRIC countries, Brazil, Russia, India, and China, we definitely see, and particularly in Russia, that happening. And I think in the Asia Pacific region, again, it's the only screen. So you've got tens of millions of especially youth-oriented consumers who are the only way they're experiencing the internet is through the mobile device, and that's therefore the only way an advertiser is going to reach them. So those are kind of some of the things we're seeing broadly around the world. What
about the formats and the strategies? Because if you could be talking to the brands and say, this is the way you do the emerging markets. I mean, for example, what we're seeing is a little bit of a split between advertising as advertising, so it's text,
right,
or it's MMS, or it's banner. And then we're also seeing advertising as incentivizing. Look at these ads and we'll let you talk for free. So
right.
What are you seeing that works if you could talk to the brands?
I think the emergence of technology is providing a much more greater experience from the creative impact perspective. So I would say it's going away from SMS text, which is not a great consumer experience, right, toward a much more impactful brand experience around I'm listening to music, I'm watching a video, I'm messaging my friends. And what we try to do is get them to think holistically, like they would in traditional channels, about wrapping the brand experience around all those activities for the consumer. And what that might mean is sometimes it might be a video ad, other times it might be an audio ad, other times it might be a click-to-engage ad, a viral aspect to it. I think it's not any one single element that really is important. It's holistically all those elements which our platforms support, and thinking that way as a brand. It's no longer just about a banner ad like you have on the web or SMS text. It's taking advantage of the consumer experience on the phone, and the fact that in many ways it's a better place to advertise than the web, because the consumer is, again, you can put your brand experience around what the consumer is doing in a much better way than you can on the computer screen.
I'm just curious, is your business moving also a little bit into consulting in the sense, because I know